Good morning, students. This is session 1 of 8th Standard Social Science, History, 3rd Unit, Rural Life and Society. So, children, listen carefully to this session. In case of any doubts, make a note of it, which shall be clarified on the day of reopening. So, let's enter into our lesson. In the pre-colonial period, that is before the British arrival, Indian economy was predominantly an agrarian economy. That means Indian economy, it fully dependent on the agriculture. Not only agriculture, the primary occupation of the people and even industries like textiles, sugar, oil. So, the people depend on these type of industries before the British arrival. Then, once the British arrived into India, they got the Diwani rights, that is the right to collect the tax after the victory of Battle of Plassey and Battle of Buxar. So, the British government in India did not adopt a pro-Indian agriculture and land revenue policy, but they introduced new land revenue policies. So, let's see the land revenue policy under the British. So, children, the land revenue policy under the British is classified into, first one is permanent settlement, and then Royatwari settlement, and then Mahalwari settlement. So, permanent settlement, Royatwari settlement and Mahalwari settlement. So, permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. So, permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis, and then Royatwari settlement was introduced by Thomas Munro, and Mahalwari settlement was introduced by Lord William Bentinck. So make a note of it. Now let's see about each settlement in detail. So first one is permanent settlement. So permanent settlement was introduced by Lord Cornwallis. So let's see the features and merits and demerits of this settlement. When Robert Clive obtained the Diwani of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa in 1765, there used to be an annual settlement, that is land revenue. So when Robert Clive, he obtained the Diwani rights. So Diwani means the right to collect the tax from the people of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa in 1765. They imposed an annual settlement, that is they have to settle per year annually. Then, Warren Hastings changed it from annual to quinquennial, that means 5 yearly, and back to annual again. So, Robert Clive, he imposed for annually to pay the settlement per year. So, Warren Hastings, he changed it from annual to quinquennial. So, quinquennial means 5 years. So, in 5 years, they can settle the money. And back to annual again. Again he changed to annual. Then, during the time of Cornwallis, a 10 years decennial settlement was introduced in 1793 and it was known as permanent settlement. So, during the time of Cornwallis, the decennial settlement, that is, we can pay the tax once for 10 years, and it was introduced in 1793. By Lord Cornwallis. Permanent settlement were made in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Varanasi division of Uttar Pradesh and northern Karnataka, which roughly covered 19% of the total area of British India. So children, this type of settlement was implemented in Bengal, Bihar, Orissa, Varanasi division of Uttar Pradesh and northern Karnataka. So, permanent settlement is also known as, that is, it was known by different names like Zamindari, Jagirdari, Malguzari and Bisvidari. So, Zamindari, Jagirdari, Malguzari and Bisvidari are the other names for permanent settlement. So now let's see the salient features of permanent settlement. So what is the main features of the permanent settlement? So let's see it. So first one is the zamindars were recognized as the owners of land as long as they paid the revenue to the East India Company regularly. So according to permanent settlement, the zamindars were considered as the land owner. So as long as they pay the tax to the British East India Company, the zamindars were considered as the land owner. So this is the first feature. And second feature is the zamindars acted as the agent of the government for the collection of revenue from the cultivators. So the zamindars, they act as an agent between the people and the government. So they will collect the tax from the people and they will pay it to the government. So they act as an agent. And then the amount of revenue that the zamindars had to pay to the company was firmly fixed and it would not be raised under any circumstances. So the amount of tax which the zamindar has to pay to the government is fixed by the British East India Company and it will not be changed. So according to permanent settlement, the amount of tax that the zamindars has to pay to the British East India Company is fixed and it will not be raised. Next, they gave 10 by 11 of the revenue collected by them from the cultivator to the government. So they gave 10 by 11 of the revenue collected by them from the cultivator to the government. So only 1% will be given to the cultivator, that is the farmers. Next, the zamindars would grant patta. So patta means written agreements to the ryots. So ryots means farmers. The ryots became the tenants since they were considered the tillers of the soil. So the zamindars will grant patta means legal agreement to the farmer and they will work as a tenant. So tenant means they will rent the land. So they have to pay the rent to the zamindars. Since they were considered as the tillers, so tillers means they will break the soil, they will cultivate the soil since farmers are referred as tillers. Next, all judicial powers were taken away from the zamindars. So all the law and order was taken from the zamindars and it came under the control of the British East India Company. So the only duty of the zamindar is to collect the revenue and they have to pay to the British East India Company. So let's see the merits of permanent settlement. So what are the advantages of such permanent settlement? So the first advantage is, under this system, many of the waste lands and forests became cultivable lands. So many of the wastelands and forests, they became cultivable lands for the farmers. And second advantage is the zamindars became the owner of the land. So the zamindars were considered as the owner of the land as long as they pay the tax to the British East India Company. Third one is the zamindars were made free from the responsibility of providing justice. So the judicial powers were taken away from the zamindars. So the law and order came under the control of the British. So they were made free from the judicial powers. Fourth one is the zamindars remained faithful to the British government. So they remained faithful means they worked for the British government. This system secured a fixed and stable income for the British government. So the permanent settlement, it favored only the British government, not the farmers. So these are all the advantage of the permanent settlement. So now let's see the demerits of permanent settlement, that is disadvantages. So first one is the British government had no direct contact with the cultivators. So since the zamindars acted as an agent or a bridge between the cultivators and the government, there is no direct relationship with the cultivators. So the British government, they didn't have any direct relationship or contact with the cultivators. So only they contact the zamindars. And the rights of the cultivators were ignored and they were left at the mercy of the zamindars. So every right for the cultivators, it depends on the zamindars. The peasants were almost treated as serfs. So the peasants, that is the farmers. So children, peasants means farmers. Ryot also farmers. The peasants were almost treated as serfs means they were treated as slaves. This system was made the zamindars lethargic and luxurious. So it made the zamindars very irresponsible as well as luxurious. So luxurious means it made very rich. Many conflicts between the zamindars and the peasants arose in rural Bengal. So because of this permanent settlement and irresponsibility of zamindars, there arose many conflicts. So conflicts means an argument or a fight between the zamindar and the cultivators. So next is Royatwari system. So Royat means farmers or peasant. So peasant also farmers. So let's see the features and the merits of Royatwari system. Royatwari system was introduced by Thomas Munro and Captain Reed in 1820. So Royatwari system was introduced by Thomas Munro and Captain Reed in 1820. Major areas of introduction of Royatwari system included Madras, Bombay, parts of Assam and Coorg provinces of British India. By Royatwari system, the rights of ownership was handed over to the peasants. So children, the major areas where this type of system implemented were Madras, Bombay, parts of Assam and Coorg and provinces of British India. And by Royatwari system, the rights of the ownership were handed over to the peasants. So in permanent settlement, we have seen that the ownership was given to zamindars. But in Royatwari system, the ownership was given to peasant. So peasant means farmers. British government collected tax directly from the peasant. So previously in permanent settlement, we have seen that zamindars will collect the tax from the farmers and they will give to the British government. But here, the British government collected tax directly from the farmers. So peasant means farmers. Initially, 1/2 of the estimated produce was fixed as rent. So at the starting stage of implementation of this system, only 1/2 of the estimated produce was fixed as rent. This assessment was reduced to 1/3 of the produce by Thomas Munro. So Thomas Munro, he further reduced it to 1/3, that is 1/3. The revenue was based on the basis of soil and the nature of the crop. So the tax was imposed based on the nature of the soil and the nature of the crop. Next, rents would be periodically revised. So it will be revised means it will be modified or changed periodically. Generally for 20 to 30 years. So the tax will be changed after 20 to 30 years. The position of the cultivators became more secure. In this system, the settlement was made between the government and the ryots. So this system was between, that means a direct link between the government as well as the ryot. So ryot means peasants. That means farmers. In fact, the government later claimed that the land revenue was rent and not a tax. So the government, the British government, later they said that the land revenue was the rent, but it is not the tax. So they collected the rent only. So now let's see the salient features of Royatwari system. So first one is the revenue settlement was done directly with the Royats. So as we have seen earlier, the revenue settlement, that is the collection of revenue, was done directly with the farmers. Measurement of field and an estimate of produce was calculated. So the tax was based on the measurement of field and an estimate of the produce from the land. The government fixed the demand at 45 to 55% of the produce. So the government, they fixed the demand as 45 to 55% of the total produce from the land. So these are all the main features of Royatwari system. First one is the settlement was done directly with the farmers, and the settlement was based on the measurement of the field and the estimate of the produce, and the fixed estimation was 45 to 55%. Now let's see the effects of Royatwari system. So, what were the effects caused on the farmers because of this settlement? So, first one is, in most areas, the land revenue fixed was excessive. The riots were hardly left with bare maintenance even in the best of seasons. So, in most of the areas, the land revenue was very high. So, the farmers cannot able to pay the tax. So, they were left with bare hand. Even though they had a best season, they were left with bare hands because they can't able to pay the tax to the British government. So, under this system, the government exploited the farmers instead of zamindars. So, it directly exploited the farmers. So, Roydwari system directly exploited the farmers instead of zamindars. So, now let's move on to the third system, that is Mahalwari system. So, third system is Mahalwari system. So, let's see the salient features, merits and demerits. Mahalwari system, a brainchild of Holt Mackenzie, was modified version of the Zamindari settlement introduced in the Ganga Valley, the northwest province parts of the central India and Punjab in 1822. So, Mahalwari system was the idea of the British General Holt Mackenzie, and it was considered as the modified version of the Zamindari system. So, Zamindari system means the permanent settlement. So, it was introduced in the year 1822. Then, Lord William Bentinck was to suggest radical changes in the Mahalwari system by the guidance of Robert Martins Bird in 1833. So, later, Lord William Bentinck, he made some changes in the Mahalwari system along with the guidance of Robert Martins Bird in 1833. Initially, the state share was fixed 2/3, that is 2/3 of the gross produce. Bentinck therefore reduced to 50%. So, initially the share was 2/3. Then Lord William Bentinck, he made certain changes to the Mahalwari system and he reduced it to 50%. So, in this system, the village as a whole has to pay the revenue through the headman or the lambadar. So, in this system, the cultivators, that is farmers, has to pay the tax through the headman of the village, or he is called lambadar. So, it is called the modified version of Zamindari system because Zamindari is also called permanent settlement. In permanent settlement, we have seen that Zamindars will collect the tax from the farmers and they will pay to the British East India Company. Similarly, in Mahalwari system, the lambadar, who is also called the headman of the village, he will collect the tax from the cultivators and he will pay to the British East India Company. So, hence it is called the modified version of Zamindari system. So, I hope you are clear. This system was first adopted in Agra and Oudh and later extended to other parts of the United Provinces. So, this system was first implemented in Agra and Oudh and later extended to other parts of United Provinces. The burden of all this heavy taxation finally fell on the cultivators. So, the burden of all the taxes fell on the cultivators, that is farmers. Let's see the salient features of Mahalwari settlement. So, Mahal means village. So, children, Mahal means village. So, let's see the features of Mahalwari settlement. So, first one is the lambadar. So, lambadar means he is the head of the village, headman of the village. He acted as intermediaries between the government and the villages. So, in the first settlement, that is in permanent settlement, Zamindar acted as an intermediary between the government and the cultivators. Similarly, in this, the lambadar acted as intermediaries between the government and the villages. It was a village-wise assessment. So, village means Mahal. So, hence it is called Mahalwari settlement. So, it was a village-wise assessment. One person could hold a number of villages. So, one person could hold a number of villages. That is, one lambadar can hold a number of villages. The village community was the owner of the village common land. So the village community is regarded as the owner of the village common land. The village land belonged to the village community. So the village land is belonged to the village community. So these are all the salient features of Mahalwari system. So Mahal means village. So now let's see the effects of Mahalwari system. So what are the effects of the Mahalwari system? So first one is the Lambardar enjoyed privileges which was misused for their self-interest. So the headman of the village, he enjoyed all the privileges and he misused it for his own interest. This system brought no benefit to the cultivators. So it has no benefit for the farmers. So this system had no benefit for the farmers. Instead, it made the headman of the village to enjoy many privileges. It was a modified version of the zamindari system and benefited the upper class in the villages. So it benefited only the upper class people in the villages, whereas the farmers were exploited because of this Mahalwari settlement. So children, now let's see the impact of British land revenue system on the cultivators. So what was the impact made on the cultivators because of this British land revenue system? So let's see the impact one by one. First one is a common feature of all the settlements was the assessment and the maximized income from the land. It resulted in increasing land sales and dispossession. So the main motive of all the three settlements imposed by the British East India Company was to increase the income from the land. It didn't do any favor for the farmers. So when they imposed high tax for the farmers, they can't able to pay it. So because of that, they lost their land. That is called dispossession of land. And second one is the peasants. So peasant means farmers. The peasants were overburdened with taxation. Due to the tax burden and famines in general, the people suffered in poverty and burdened with debts. They had to seek the money lenders who became rich and acquired lands from the peasants. So because of overtax and famines, so famines means drought, they were not able to pay the tax. So they seek the money lenders to borrow money and they were in a situation that they can't able to repay it. So they lost their land to the money lenders. So this is how the money lenders became rich and the peasants became poor. Third reason is the zamindars, the moneylenders and lawyers exploited the poor peasants. So the zamindars, moneylenders and lawyers exploited the poor peasants. And the stability and continuity of the Indian villages were shaken. So because of this land revenue system, the stability of the Indian village was shaken. So the moneylenders, zamindars and lawyers, they became rich and the farmers, they became poor. And the cottage industries disappeared on account of the import of British goods and the peasants had nothing to supplement their income. So even the cottage industries, that is small scale industries, disappeared. So because of the British goods which were imported from England and the peasants had nothing to supplement their income. The old body of custom was replaced by new apparatus of law, courts, fees, lawyers and formal procedures. So the total custom was changed because of this land revenue system introduced by the British. The British policy proved advantageous only to the government of a privileged section of the society at the cost of the cultivators. So at the cost of the cultivators, the British government, they enjoyed the privileges in the society. So the British policy proved advantageous only to the British government as well as the upper class people, not for the cultivators. So children, I hope you are clear with today's session. So refer the textbook pages, page number 26 to 28. So now it's time for questions. So let's see some evaluation questions. In case of any doubts, you can go through the whole session video once again. So let's see the questions. So first question is, what was the Mahal in the Mahalwari system? In which region was the Mahalwari system imposed? Which system was called by different names like Zahirdari, Malguzari and Bisvidari? Which is the modified version of Zamindari system? And finally, the Mahalwari system was a brainchild of which Governor General? So children, answer all these questions in the notebook which you are maintaining for social science. So, in our next session, that is in next class, we can see about the peasant revolts in detail. Thank you.